How's it going, everybody? Welcome into the Skyline Sports Podcast. I am your host, Jack Hartman, joined as always by my good friend, my co-host from the West Coast, Nick Normand. Nick, how you doing today?
Doing pretty well. Pretty sad. We're recording this post Steelers Bengals game last night and was not very pleased with that. Like it just felt like a boulder rolling downhill where it was just kind of a sad state of affairs in some ways where like even at the end the Steelers took the lead by what was it? By 1 point, and I'm just like, man, the Steelers took the lead, but they gave them way too much time left. Like, I wish Freiermuth would have just like slid down. Like, we need to hold the ball a little bit longer because our defense has been terrible today. Like, I even when a good thing happened, it was like, well, that's a good thing, but
Right.
and so that was just very frustrating. Where like I couldn't even take like a victory lap when a good thing happened. I'm like, wow, the deep passing game looks really good, but man, what is Rodgers doing with some of these decisions? Oh, the defense looked really good in the last week or so, but like, why is it that they're playing these bland schemes? Like it was just some really questionable stuff going on that was
Yeah.
very frustrating to me.
Yeah. Sorry. Sad boy hours for Nick.
Yeah. I was not in a good mood last night after that, man. Like I was downtrodden. I was not feeling okay after that.
Yeah, which I don't blame you, but in another sense though, I mean, it was just so Pittsburgh to lose that game. I mean, I felt like I was smelling that from like a mile away. Like that was it
Yeah.
was just the only difference is like it didn't snow and that the game,
From
was
the Cleveland
earlier, but the Cleveland Thursday night game when Jameis
yeah.
did Jameis things and won that game last year, I mean, it just felt
And that
it
was the
was
same thing where the Steelers got the lead late, but they scored too soon and Jameis had time left for a field goal. It was same thing. Same
Yep.
thing.
Yep.
Oh
It's
my God.
unfortunately with the Steelers, it feels like we've read this book time and time again. So
Yes.
but
Yes.
oh well. Well, hey, let's get into it. We are
Mhm.
recording a little later in the week than we normally do just because of some scheduling things. So yes, the Thursday night game already happened, so we won't be talking about that. We'll cover that if we want to cover that in next week's episode. But we do have some really interesting things to recap about week 6. Nick, what was something that impressed you from a team, player, coach, whatever, what have you, from week 6 here?
Mhm. So I'm really impressed by the Seattle Seahawks and just their ability to be a professional team that's able to make things look easier than they should be. Like the Jacksonville Jaguars are a legit team that's been winning games. Their defense has looked really good. Their run games looked really good. Their
Mm-hmm.
pass game at times has looked spotty. Like you'll see turnovers here and there, but like they're still reasonably explosive. Like when Brian Thomas Jr. is not dropping the ball, their offense looks pretty good. But man, the Seattle defense being able to shut down a lot of what Jacksonville was trying to do held them 4 for 12, I believe, on third down. 4 for 12 on third down. The Seattle offense was awful on third down as well. So this was a game where all of the third downs just went really poorly.
It was 4 for 16 actually, so even
Four for
worse.
16. Got you. So even worse. Yeah, that's right. It was bad on third down. But what really stood out to me, a key with the Seattle defensive line that really worked in Jackson, really worked negatively for Jacksonville, was the ability to create pressure and sack Trevor Lawrence was really the downfall for T-Law, where he was just really awful when playing from behind the sticks when sacks happened. There were 3 separate drives that ended on sacks where third down, the defensive line getting pressure, sacking Lawrence, and then 2 other drives that early sacks in that sequence set up third and longs that then they weren't able to convert. So 5 separate drives that sacks ruined the drives for Jacksonville
Yeah.
because that defensive line was able to get pressure on, because they were able to make it to where Trevor Lawrence wasn't able to get the ball out quick to easy reads. Just a great job by Mike McDonald, head coach for the Seattle Seahawks, being able to see Trevor Lawrence's tendencies, not let his legs become a factor on early to late downs before fourth down, They were able to go 3 for 3 on fourth down to Jacksonville, which was very impressive. But the thing is, they had to go on those fourth downs because Seattle did a great job on third down. And so it was just a game where Seattle's defense has been incredibly impressive, and their offense has been really complimentary. The running game with K9 and Charbonnet is good. The offensive line has played much improved over the last couple of years when Gino was there, and they were very banged up the last couple of years. And Darnold's really been able to unlock something that hasn't been there the last couple of years with the efficient passing underneath to Jackson Smith and Jigba, and then the dialed up offense with a deep ball here and there. This week to Smith and Jigba as well. And then you got another one to A.J. Barner, the tight end, on a broken play. It was just really impressive, the ability for Darnold as well to be able to dice up this defense that has been just incredible this year as far as the reason Jacksonville's been winning games has been the defense in the running game. And Seattle was able to completely tear that to shreds in a lot of ways. Got to give Seattle all the credit in the world, though. The final score was not indicative of how much better Seattle was playing in the key moments of this game.
Yeah, for sure. Jacksonville ran 28 total plays and only gained 273 total yards. Seattle ran 54 plays, 14 yes plays, and outgained them by nearly 75 yards at 346. I mean, that is, yeah, that is very, very indicative of that. And you know what? I don't know how I feel about Seattle in terms of how good of a team are they really, but I do know that they're going to be competitive in the NFC West. Like right now, they're sitting at 4-2. I'm pretty sure they're in a three-way tie. With San Francisco and the Rams. The 49ers are 3-0 in the division already, which we were talking about division records with how fast and how hot the Chiefs or the Chargers, got off, and so that will loom large. But still, like Seattle's going to be competitive. It would not surprise me if they are at the very least a playoff team this year. They look really solid. I've got a few things.
Yeah, I was just going to say Seattle's definitely looked the best, I think, of all the NFC West teams. Where the Rams have been really up and down. Their defensive backfield with their DBs has been questionable. And the 49ers, I just don't think anybody has faith in to be able to make a run when the playoffs come around. Like, their schedule is just so weak, but they're just so banged up, man. I don't think people can say, oh, look at that 49ers team with that roster and really have faith in it right now that they're better than Seattle as far as the prospects for this season, man. It's just brutal.
Yeah. Yeah, no, totally agree with you. No notes. Check. There were a few things that really impressed me from this last week. And the one that I think I want to touch on, and I don't know why I want to touch on this one, but it is the one that I feel enticed to talk about, is the Cowboys offense. I don't think we are giving enough credit to the Cowboys offense. And I think a lot of that has to do with their defense being so incredibly terrible. They are 2-3-1. Their tie came from giving up nearly 40 points to Green Bay. One of their wins, they gave up 37 points to the Giants and won in overtime. But that said, Dak Prescott so far this year, legitimately looking like an MVP candidate. Legitimately, he's doing what needs to be done. He has 13 touchdowns to only 3 interceptions through 5 games. He's completing his passes at 72.7% per clip, and 1,429 yards so far in the year. Passer rating so far is 110.8. He's just doing what he needs to be doing, and he is doing everything. You cannot say that the Cowboys are 2-3-1 because of Dak Prescott. He is doing what he needs to do to keep that team afloat. He's spreading the ball around. This last week we had 8 different Cowboys receivers catch a pass, so and that's without CD Lamb even playing, right? So, we saw George Pickens have a good game, but he got a lot of people involved. I just think he's playing really well, and I do think that, the Cowboys will uh probably not make the playoffs. But I would feel like we would be doing a disservice to not mention how good the offense has looked so far and how much of that has to do with Dak Prescott and how good he has played so far this year.
I got to give you some credit for the shout out. I completely agree with you 100%. That normally, historically, like there were years that the Cowboys were winning 12, 13 games with Mike McCarthy as head coach. It was impressive. You give credit to the offense. The defense played solid. Good teams. Those teams won a lot of games. Those were good teams. They feasted on the lowlifes, especially of the NFC East. Washington was terrible. The Giants were terrible for a lot of that stretch. The Eagles, although they've won Super Bowls and been good, they've also had down years, and their defense has been really up and down as well. And so the Cowboys were able to really feast in their division. And they play a lot of teams like the Panthers or the Saints or teams like that they're able to just destroy and get a bunch of turnovers with their defense and able to throw up crazy scores. You look at a team like the Packers that they were able to drop 40 on. The Packers and Jeff Hafley's defense looked incredible through the first couple of weeks. And then the Cowboys proceeded to tie them after the Packers lost to the Browns the week before. But to drop 40 on that defense when that defense was looking incredible and Micah Parsons is there and the defense just has a bunch of young talent on it and is improving. Really impressive that the Cowboys aren't just able to destroy bad defenses, but able to destroy good defenses.
Mm-hmm.
They obliterated the Packers. They didn't obliterate a bad team. They obliterated a great defense.
Yeah.
Really impressive stuff by Dak Prescott. I think this is by far his best year of his career as far as his play. His ability to be mobile and be an efficient passer while making good decisions. And their offense, as you said, hasn't been fully healthy. CD's been out. Their offensive line has been rotating through dudes as far as the interior being banged up as well. Mm-hmm. I think with Dak Prescott, you can put in the mold of last year's Joe Burrow, where I think he could easily lead the league in touchdown passes, easily lead the league in yards, just put up a crazy stat line, but maybe drag them to a winning record barely. Like, I feel like the 8-1, 9-7-1, something like that. Like, that's what these Cowboys could get to on the arm and on the legs of Dak Prescott having an incredible year.
Yeah. No, Dak has looked really good. Yeah, it's a shame. I mean, the Cowboys defense has not been the same since oh my gosh, why am I blanking on his name? Dan Quinn. Golly, that took a while.
Their defense.
Their defense has just not looked the same since Dan Quinn left. But yeah. Hey, before we get into our teams that we're a little concerned about, had some rough weeks, I think it is now appropriate to ask, is Tampa Bay legit?
I give them credit in the same way that I'm giving Dallas credit, but more, where Baker Mayfield's ability to do it with randos, where it's Sterling Shepard in the year 2025 of our Lord and Savior. Ibuka was out. Evans was out. Godwin was out. You had the kid, the Tez Johnson from Oregon, make his first massive play in this last game. You have Rashad White, you have Cade Otton, and dudes. Like, you don't have Bucky Irving. Your offensive line has been in flux. Your receiving core is depleted. Like, Tampa Bay, I think, is really legit. Their defense, I don't know what caliber their defense is, but their offense's ability to be explosive with anybody. When they're healthy, I think they're going to be incredibly explosive. Just the ability to pick on mismatches. You're going to have a third corner on Chris Godwin. You're going to have a number 2 or 3 corner on Mike Evans. you're going to have Ibuka not have to be double covered because you have all those dudes. And then you have Bucky Irving running it up the middle or outside with all that space. I just don't see how you stop this offense.
Right.
I just don't see what the plan is. You're going to have to cover every blade of grass if this offense gets healthy, which they should. There aren't any massive injuries to the weapons as far as stuff that's going to hold them out the entire year. But man, if they can get everybody back, this is looking like the 2018 Rams, like Todd Gurley and Brandon Cooks and Cooper Kupp and Robert Woods. If they were all healthy, like what are you doing to that offense? This offense is that kind of offense. And the offensive line is playing pretty darn well too, considering they're banged up as well. I think Tampa Bay is 100% legit, and it was a great shout by you in the preseason saying, I think they're going to level up because they definitely have this year.
Yeah. Yeah. And I mean, the thing that felt like was missing was like, okay, get a dominant win over a good team. Like they had, before this last week, they were 4-1, and all four of their wins were by a field goal or less, and they were all these like Baker just clutches like no other at the end of the game. Well, no, they played against a 4-1 49ers team. Yes, a banged up 4-1 49ers team, but still 4-1. A team that had looked good, and Mac Jones had looked more than competent. He had looked good as a starting quarterback, and they beat him 30-19. They shut him down. They did what they had to do, and they win that game. We were just talking about Dak Prescott and his offensive numbers. Baker, through 6 games, 1,539 passing yards, 12 touchdowns, 1 interception. Like, he less picks, only 1 less touchdown, and more yards than Dak, right? Baker Mayfield's looking like an MVP right now.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, the team just looks good, man. I am ready to call them legit. I think that going into this Monday night game between Detroit and Tampa Bay, I think whoever wins that game will be I think if Tampa Bay wins that game, then they are in first, and it is a long way to second for best teams in the NFC. I think if Detroit wins, then Detroit barely for now edges out Tampa Bay as best team in the NFC. But also saying that, knowing that Tampa Bay is so banged up, and what happens when you get your perennial 1,000-yard receiver Mike Evans back? What happens when you get Chris Godwin back? What happens when the offensive line gets healthy again? So one, that'll be a good game. But two, yeah, I think Tampa Bay is.
I
I
think
agree
we
with you.
also
I think
got to
they're
give a
legit.
little credit to their leadership abilities as quarterbacks between Dak and Baker. I think
Mm-hmm.
both of those dudes, their styles as people are very different. You see
Yeah.
Dak up at the microphone, and you're like, oh man, he's a professional. He's a businessman. He's there. He's talking to the media. He's able to keep it all together, keep it all in, stay professional. And then you have Baker on the field, jawing with dudes, trash talking dudes, sassing with the media, being like, hey, they shouldn't have let me go. I'm just doing me. People used to say it was ego, and now they're like, look, he's got moxie, he's got swag. And their style's very different, but I think their ability to rally teammates around them. Baker has shown the ability that dudes feed off that energy. Dak has
Mm-hmm.
shown the ability to be a leader with anybody, with dudes who can be ridiculous. And both of their ability to be leaders of men, incredibly impressive.
Yeah. Yeah. Also, shout out Todd Bowles. Like for continuing to do a good job with this team. I think it's really, really interesting. You rarely see a situation where a coach moves on from a team and it's mutually beneficial to both. But Liam Cohen leaves Tampa Bay as the offensive coordinator, goes to Jacksonville. Jacksonville looks like a good team, and a team that will probably make the playoffs and might even win a game in the playoffs. And Baker Mayfield has looked more or less better than he ever has before. And it's just been mutually beneficial for both. Shout out to Todd Bowles for making the right hire to replace Liam Cohen. Shout out to Todd Bowles for going like, hey, I don't care that we lost a coordinator. We're still good enough, and I'm going to keep this team good enough. Yeah, I agree. Tampa Bay is absolutely legit. All right. Now let's move on to our frowny face teams. Who are the teams that left us this week going, "Oh, that's a little concerning."
Mhm. I got to go with the team that, thank God, they finally made a change within the last week. That will be the Tennessee Titans, man. I just view the Titans as a team that preseason I thought, okay, they're going to be frisky. Their defense was good last year, but Will Levis and Mason Rudolph, like throwing a lot of interceptions, making a lot of wacky plays last year. That's the reason why they were losing games. And Cam Ward has looked solid this year. He's looked
Hmm.
worse because of the situation around him, but I thought Cam Ward will be solid. They've been a disaster. Callahan was fired. It just seems like it's a revolving door where I don't know if you've seen the whole list of people that Tennessee's fired over the last 3, 4 years.
It's
It's
bad.
been GM fired, coach fired, GM fired, coach fired, GM fired, coach fired. And they've just been burning through dudes where on average it seems like their coaches and GMs are lasting a year and a half. And that's how long Callahan lasted, if not less than that, where he got less than a season and a half. And it was a pure disaster. His coaching was horrendous. Bill Callahan, his father, wasn't able to make the offensive line play to the level that you've seen his offensive lines play to. It just seems like it's a disaster in Tennessee. And he's another one of these number one picks that the head coach got fired while it was the number one pick's rookie year. Bryce Young, head coach, got fired. Trevor Lawrence, head coach, got fired. Head coach gets fired for Cam Ward. And it goes back. Let
Caleb
me see.
Williams.
Caleb Williams, head coach, got fired. The last 4 number one pick quarterbacks, all of their head coaches getting fired during their rookie season. The lack of stability for these number one pick quarterbacks who are coming in being hailed as saviors, and the lack of support for these dudes is just shocking as rookies. I
Hmm.
really hope the best for Cam Ward. I think he can be a really good player. I don't know if he's going to be able to reach that elite status of the elite QBs in the league, but I just want our young QBs to get support, man. And he was not getting support. And maybe they'll get the interim head coach bump for a week or a couple of weeks. But man, I just feel bad for Ward and a bunch of players on the Titans. They've gotten drafted into those situations or traded there or signed there for money decisions. But man, I wouldn't want to have anything to do with the Tennessee Titans if I were a player or a coach.
Yeah, no, I totally agree. It's rough. I mean, the 2 years ago, Mike Vrabel was the head coach there, and the Titans, no matter how bad it seemed like they had to be, were finding a way to win the division and go to the playoffs.
Mhm,
And not just go to the playoffs. They would win games in the playoffs. They
mhm,
were not a make the playoffs first round exit team, every year. And just, it's I mean, and mentioning this is very timely considering that Penn State just fired James Franklin, right? It's
mhm,
like, okay, you think that how good you are, nope, it's not good enough, and we need to be better, and we don't think we'll get
mhm,
better with this guy. Okay, you're taking a big risk. Are you
mhm,
prepared to have a couple years that are really, really bad?
mhm, mhm,
So yeah, no, I hear you.
mhm,
My team that concerned me this week, and this is very different. Not
mhm,
as bad as a team, I don't think. I hope not, as the Tennessee Titans. But it's more of, let's not have revisionists history about this team.
mhm,
And that is the Philadelphia Eagles. The
mhm,
Eagles started the year 4-0. They had some good wins. They beat the Cowboys the first game of the year. It wasn't pretty, but they did it. Um, they then beat the Chiefs week 2. Okay, they beat the Rams week 3. They beat Tampa Bay week 4. Then they lose at home to the Broncos, and then they don't just lose to the Giants. They get pummeled by the
mhm,
Giants. It was not pretty. It was not close.
mhm,
Everything that we have been like, when the Eagles lose, it's because all of these things go wrong and they don't do these things right. All of those things happened. The Eagles were 1 for 9 on third down. 1 for 9 on third down in that game. They had a total of 20 first downs. Okay. They turned the ball over 2 times. They were penalized 4 times for 46 yards. That's not bad. Their red zone efficiency, they were only 2 for 3, right? When you get in the red zone, you got to punch it in.
Mhm.
They had no, I mean, not actually no, but they basically had no big plays, right? That was the
Mhm.
thing. That was the thing that made the Eagles work last year was that, you know what? We can always turn and give the ball to Saquon and he can have a 20-yard rush, which is considered a big play.
Mhm.
And, boom, now we're moving, right?
Mhm.
They're not doing it. And it is concerning because we have seen this play out before. We have seen this play out before. It was 2023. They started the year like 10-1 and then lost like their last 6 games and then lost in the wild card on the road in Jason Kelsey's final year. Now,
Mhm.
the only difference is this is happening much earlier in the year than it happened that
Mhm.
year. But I am very concerned about Philadelphia if especially you have Saquon Barkley and you're playing against the New York Giants and you only have 73 rushing yards in the game. Only 73 rushing yards. When you're letting Jackson Dart throw to guys that are basically coming right off the couch to play in this game, there's no
Mhm.
Malik Neighbors, right? The receivers were Wandale Robinson, Lil Jordan Humphrey, Theo Johnson, Jalen Hyatt, and Cam
Mhm.
Skadaboo were the players who caught passes from Jackson Dart in this
Mhm.
game.
Yep.
You did not force a turnover against a rookie quarterback. Your team is supposed to be lauded for having such an amazing defense, and even if the offensive play kind of struggles, the defense will be good enough that they'll keep you in it. You didn't force a turnover.
Mhm.
When the same Giants team played the Saints the previous week, they turned the ball over like 3 times, and you couldn't force a turnover.
Mhm.
I am concerned. I do not care that the Eagles are 4-2. I do not care that right now they are number one in that division. The team that has played the last 2 weeks, if that is the true identity of this Eagles team, then this team might end up at like 7-10.
Mhm.
Like they got to figure it out fast. There is no time to waste to figure this out because
Mhm.
also you look at their schedule. They play the Vikings on the road this week, then they host the Giants again. Then they play the Packers on the road. Then they host the Lions. Those 4 games right there are there's not like a oh well that's the easy game.
Yeah.
Hosting the Giants was supposed to be that, and then they lost by 17 points to them last Thursday. So, like, we can't even say that for them. Then they travel to Dallas, they host Chicago, they travel to the Chargers. The next game that I'm like, okay, this should not be there should be no chance that they lose this game is when they play the Raiders at home second week, the second weekend of December.
My God.
Like, you got to be concerned if you're the Eagles and you're an Eagles fan because we've seen this play out before. We've seen the way this goes, and so I am very concerned about the Philadelphia Eagles right now. Moving forward with how they have looked, not just this last week, though this last week was far worse than the week before against the Broncos, but still, these last 2 weeks have been bad.
Yeah. Just brutal. You're 100% right on that. Cam Skadaboo, I got to give him a bunch of credit. I don't think he's going to last long, but just a psycho who can just run through dudes. Just the frat bro duo of Scattaboo and Dart. Like these are just dudes who get hype, who have energy, amazing as a TV product. But you can't let Scattaboo just be running you over and over and over again. Still at the end of that game, Philadelphia knew Scattaboo's getting the ball. He's going to be running to the left. He's going to be bowling over dudes. You got to stop him before he gets going. And they couldn't stop him. He was
Right.
still ripping off 5, 10, 15-yard runs late into the third and fourth quarter when they knew it was coming and they couldn't stop him. This is a team that's built its legacy off of its deep defensive line. They were able to pressure the hell out of Patrick Mahomes last year in the Super Bowl with 4. That's how they won that game. They were able to just put so much pressure with just that D line. And their D line is shallow now. Jalen
Mm-hmm.
Hurts out for a game here and there. He was out against Dallas in that first week of the season. And Dallas was able to shred them in the first half.
Yeah.
This game, Jalen Carter's out, and Scadaboo's just running all over them. They're not able to get pressure with four. The D-line struggled. It went from a deep defensive line to one that is so reliant on its third-year defensive tackle that just makes it to where when he's out, the defense struggles. And this offense, the state of things right now are just horrendous, where A.J. Brown and Hurts are obviously on different pages. Saquon Barkley has not looked like the same dude. The wear and tear on his body from last year, having so many carries, just brutal. He's averaging 3.2, I think, yards a carry this year. Just terrible for Saquon when last year he was averaging almost 6. This offense can't run, can't pass, can't make good decisions as a passer with Jalen Hurts. Their schemes aren't creative. They don't have a good offensive play caller. They don't have a good head coach. Their defense isn't great. They're just a struggling team right now that I don't know what they do well. As you said, the Eagles, man, this is not the same team that they were last year, let alone earlier in the season. They're not even that now.
Yeah, and I mean, they lost a lot in free agency, and I think we kind of underscored how much we, meaning everybody, kind of underscored how much they lost in free agency. Like they lost Mekhi Becton, they lost a lot of guys from their defense. Yes, they had a lot of rookies that they felt really really strong about, and they drafted well, right? But still, like, you can't replace the depth that easily, that you once had. And so yeah, I feel like similar to your Steelers losing last night to Cincinnati and that seeming like a story we've read before. This feels like a story we've read before. Now it's happening much sooner than it did last time. But still. All right. Moving on to week 7, to this upcoming week. Nick, is there a game that you are really looking forward to that really sticks out to you this coming week?
So I'm hitting up a team that we just discussed a little bit. That will be the Broncos and the Giants game. I just think that these are two teams that are coming off of games that people were watching, that people might have been throwing up in their mouth a little bit watching. The Broncos playing the Jets in London. That game, you had to wake up early, especially if you're on the West Coast like me. The game's starting at 6:30 in the a.m. It was an early game. It was disgusting. Justin Fields looked terrible. They couldn't throw the ball. The running game wasn't good. The Broncos, though, their offense hasn't looked good either. Bo Nix has not looked like the same player as last year. They had been feeding on the weak teams last year and beat a bunch of bad quarterbacks. And this year, he's struggled. The offense hasn't been looking good. RJ Harvey, the rookie running back, hasn't looked to be the player that they drafted in the second round. Cortland Sutton, when he's not playing well, their complete receiving core just doesn't show up a lot of the time. I just don't know what this offense is going to look like on a week-to-week basis. This defense, I think, is elite. And if this defense can do what I think it can do against the Giants, that'll be awesome. But if the offense can't do anything against this Giants defense, this game could be close. And this is a team in the Giants that are coming off a bye or a mini bye with the Thursday night game. And this is a team with the Broncos that was flying back from the UK. So a team with less rest versus a team with more rest. And a team in the Giants who are coming off their high of the season versus a team in the Broncos who are coming off of a survive it, win it, just get home kind of game. And so I'm really curious what these kind of matchups and how their schedule and how the teams are feeling right now looks like on the field. Because I think this should be a game that the Broncos defense just dominates in every phase of the game with defense, where first, second, third, fourth down, you should just be able to shut down this Giants offense, especially without Neighbors. Slayton didn't play this last week if he doesn't play this week. I just don't think that the Broncos defense will allow Scadaboo to get off. I don't think this Broncos defense is going to be allowing Lil Jordan Humphrey to be able to get big plays. I think this Broncos defense should be able to shut down the Giants, but we just saw the Giants do something incredible against Philadelphia in prime time, and the vibes are at an all-time high. What does it look like this week?
Yeah. No, I think that'll be an interesting game. The Giants are all of a sudden a really fun team to watch, no matter what. So that makes it cool. Um, and yeah, it'll be really interesting to see how, okay, Denver, you got the win last week, but it wasn't pretty, like morally it was a loss, like we always talk about moral victories. Well, despite winning, that feels like a moral loss, because of the way things played out. So I'm there with you. A game that I'm really excited about, like really excited about, like I wish it was, the nationally broadcasted game in the 4:30 window this week on CBS, but it's not. And that is the Colts Chargers. The Colts and the Chargers. The Chargers were a team that looked really, really good the first few weeks. I mean, I'm pretty sure they started their season with three straight uh like division wins, and just got off to a really, really great start. Justin Herbert looked great. They backslid a little bit with the loss to the Giants and Jackson Dart's first career start. Then they lose pretty bad to the Commanders. But then, they rally, they get it done. They beat the Dolphins this last week. It wasn't super pretty. They gave up 27 points, but still, a win in the NFL is a hard thing to come by, and so they get the win. Now they're coming in and they're coming back home and they're hosting Indianapolis. Indianapolis is also 5-1 like Tampa Bay. If Indianapolis wins this game, then next week I'll be asking the question to you that I asked about Tampa Bay. Because Indianapolis, while they are 5-1, some of their wins have looked really good, others not so much. Okay, so they're week 1 they beat the Dolphins 33-8. It's a game that they don't punt in. Week 2 they beat the Broncos 29-28. Big win. The Broncos are a good team. We're supposed to be a good team. They are a good team. They're 4-2, tied with the Chargers in the AFC West for first place right now. Week 3 they go to Tennessee, score 41 points, win 41-20. Look good. Week 4 they go to the Rams and they lose 27-20, but it was a close game. It's not like the team looked that bad. Daniel Jones did throw 2 picks, and we got a little concerned, like, uh-oh, but he's ironed that out because the following week they play the Raiders, they win 40-6, right? Bam. Okay, that's what we're talking about. Then they play the Cardinals at home and beat them 31-24. Again, not great, but it's a win, right? And we can't hold the measuring stick against the Buccaneers of like, well, they had all these close wins and man, Baker was clutch, and so like, and then be like, oh, Colts, like you won a close game, so wins are wins. But they're going to Los Angeles, playing against a really, really good Chargers team, really talented. Yes, injured, but still a good, talented playoff team in the Los Angeles Chargers. And if they win this week, I will feel comfortable saying that the Indianapolis Colts are legit. And if they lose and if the Chargers win, then the Chargers then feel to me like, okay, we had those weird couple games back to back against the Giants and against the Commanders. Listen, we'll have to play 2 more games against the NFC East, and we'll probably lose both of them too. But against everybody else, we're good. We'll sort of be how it feels. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to this Colts Chargers game. I think it's going to be super fascinating.
It should be really interesting. I'm curious. So it's starting to become fall season. We're getting closer and closer the next couple of weeks until we get to Halloween. And I think the question of Daniel Jones, is the clock going to strike midnight? Is he going to go pumpkin mode? Like, we're starting to feel like, man, this is stretching on and on further. He's been playing really well. Last year, we had Sam Darnold make it all the way to the Lions game late in the season and then into the wild card game before he really fell apart in those 2 games. That felt like the strike midnight time. Like Sam Darnold was able to last the entire season, and then he really struggled with the offensive line and didn't play well. He just looked really bad after a whole season of playing really well. Do we feel like that's going to happen to Daniel Jones, or do we feel like the level of competition and the level of play has been up to a standard where Daniel Jones has ascended into good, where he hasn't been basically his entire career? Or do you feel like the imminent cliff is coming here?
I think there's a third option that we need to think about. I think Daniel Jones actually has a really good team around him, which outside of the year that they went to the playoffs and won a playoff game on the road, he really hasn't had. And so I think there's a world, like in his last two games are the two games that he's thrown picks. He had two picks, or no, two of his last three. He had two picks against the Rams. He had a pick last week against the Cardinals, right? So already it's like, oh, well, now the ball's starting to get turned over. I don't know. But I really like the Colts defense. I really like the Colts, skill position players. Jonathan Taylor so far has 603 yards on the year. He looks like he's finally healthy and getting back to what we saw of him a couple 2 to 3 years ago when he was looking really good, was a lot of people's RB1 for fantasy. And then on top of that, looking at their schedule, okay, they're in Los Angeles for the Chargers this next week. Then they host the Titans. Then they're at Pittsburgh. Then it's Falcons in Berlin. Then at Kansas City, hosting Houston, at Jacksonville, at Seattle, hosting San Francisco, hosting Jacksonville, and ending the year at Houston. I think half of the games on their remaining schedule right now, before they play the Chargers, I view half of their games as like those are games that they should win. Okay? So if they do, that gets them to 9 wins. If they beat the Chargers, I think that number goes up. If they lose, I still feel good about them as at least a 9-win team because of how good the team is around them. Because I think a lot of this, for Daniel Jones is like, hey, don't mess up, which he hasn't. Like, he doesn't have many touchdowns. He doesn't have a ton of yards. Well, he has 1,500 yards. He's got a good amount of yards, but he doesn't. He only has 8 touchdowns. But it's like, hey, man, just keep the steering wheel straight. And when it goes off, okay, we'll pull over. You good? Okay, now let's get back on the road. We'll get you back on the road. Hold the steering wheel straight. Um, so I think that I think that a win this week and Daniel Jones looking good this week is like, okay, this team is good. I don't know how long it'll take for Daniel Jones to sort of regress, like we're kind of, talking about might happen. But I think even when he does, depending on how severe it is, I think the team around him is good enough to make up for it, like he didn't, like was never there when he was in New York.
Yeah, I get you there. I think this team is clearly way more talented than any New York team, even when you have Saquon Barkley there, even when you got neighbors there in the last
Hmm.
year or so. Like, it's just different, I think. This is clearly by far, I think, the best team. Offensive line, running back, and wide receivers and defense. Like, I think just at every level, including coaching, I think. I think Steichen's clearly better than Dable in my mind's eye.
Hmm. Yeah, for sure. All right. Well, Nick, this has been good. We got to get going because we are grown-ups who have full-time jobs and we're blessed with flexible jobs that we can make recording this in the middle of the week work, but we do have stuff we got to do. So everybody enjoy the games this week. Let us know what games you're looking forward to. And yeah, we will be back to it next week to react to week 7, including giving Nick some more time to, have have his moment with the state of the Pittsburgh Steelers. Yes. But yeah, everyone have a great week. Enjoy the games, and we will talk to you next week.